My name is Paul Bogen. I'm from Cambridge in the UK. I've worked for 30 years in cultural industries, primarily managing, directing cultural centres and theatres. And for the last 3 years, I've worked freelance as project manager, consultant, trainer, researcher and fundraiser. Trans-Europal is the independent network, is the European network of independent cultural centres, and it currently has 50 members in about 24 countries, and it's a network for the people running those centres to exchange know-how, to exchange art and artists, to do joint projects together, to learn from each other and to work in collaboration on an international level. Well, normally these cultural centres were started as citizens' initiatives, so grassroots, so not coming top down from state or region or city, and therefore they tend to work with younger people, younger artists, younger audiences, and more contemporary culture. So new generations of artists, new generations of audiences, and responding to needs and demands of primarily young people in cities, which institutions don't tend to do. Since 1990, most of the new members of Trans-Europal have come from Eastern Europe. So at that point there were hardly any, but practically all the new members are from Eastern European, Central European countries. In terms of differences and similarities, I mean, the main difference is that in Western Northern Europe there's been a infrastructure of cultural policy and cultural funding developed after the Second World War. So in most countries you've got 60 years of process that's gone on, which has developed quite sophisticated structures and systems and funding. You've also got cultural centres that have been in existence. I think the oldest one in Trans-Europal is 40 years old. So again, you have a history and an experience of running cultural centres and managing cultural centres and structures of cultural centres, whereas in Eastern Europe, for obvious reasons, everything's much newer. And really the oldest centres are probably still maximum of 15 years old, I guess. But they're catching up pretty quickly, and I suppose the biggest difference is that initially there was no state or government funding for independent sector, but that is starting to change as well. And there wasn't a tradition of the independent sector, and I guess that's starting to change as well. And I guess in the Eastern European countries, the government and structures tend to be more institutionalized, more traditional, less open to new ideas and change. Start with the people, not the building, number one. Create a partnership of the community. Bring people together rather than separating them. Keep politicians out of the process completely, and don't build anything or create anything unless you know how you're going to finance it once it's open. Old buildings aren't necessarily the best solution for culture. Sometimes it's actually better to build a new building. It's cheaper and it's easier. So, don't be too nostalgic, I would say, for old buildings, And I think, the most important thing is you have to have the right people running the organization. And those people need to have the right skills and background, but they also need to be passionate about what they're doing, and they need to know why they're doing what they're doing.